Alex.
Hi, Molly Gebler. How are you?
Good to see you.
Oh my goodness.
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
Happy Restaurant Week.
Happy Restaurant Week.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
It's a big
This
deal.
is your baby.
It's my baby.
Before Molly Gebler came along, there was no Restaurant Week.
There was no Sugar and Valley Restaurant Week. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, I want
Yes.
to talk about that. A
Yes.
little birdie just told me 6 seconds ago that you've been feeling under the weather.
I was under the weather.
Is
I
that true?
had this nasty flu that
Something's going
seems
around.
to go around. Yeah, it was started out in my chest and then literally left the Meet Me at 5 on Wednesday and went into bed, and I don't think I came out until Friday with a horrible sore throat and a fever.
Did you get a flu shot this year?
I did not.
Do you generally get flu shots?
I never get a flu shot.
Is that right?
Yeah, do you?
I generally get one every year. I think I skipped one, but I don't know. I got to tell you, I don't know how I feel about the flu shots.
I don't know.
Some people don't get them.
Yeah, I hear both.
Here's the problem. Okay? And I feel, and this is something I want to talk to our guest about today, right? So, I try to think about what, like, the Molly and Alex of 30 years from now are gonna say about whether vaccines work, right? Flu vaccines, right? I feel like in the 60s, right? So the equivalent would be, well, I guess the 80s, 30 years ago, right?
Gosh, 30 years ago?
Doesn't that sound crazy?
Lord.
But I feel like the way we think about technology and medicine 30 years ago seems archaic now, right? And I wonder if 30 years from now, people are going to be like, oh, they're so silly. They were taking vaccines.
Right.
Or
wasn't there a shot when we were little that used to leave a mark on
for
her?
tuberculosis.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I had it in the Army, and I was the only dude in my whole company who tested positive for possible tuberculosis, and then everyone called me TB kid for the entire boot camp.
Wow.
But anyway,
that
like
hurts.
we just don't know whether the flu shot is making it better for me and you.
Right.
I took it, so I don't know. Does that mean, like, I got the flu once? Would I have gotten the flu a bunch more times?
I've had the flu now, and I really think it's because everything I do is 180%.
Yeah.
So, and that includes the flu. Because when I get it, I'm knocked down, done, 3 days in bed, and then back up again. But I feel like I've gotten the flu now maybe 3 times since September.
Really?
I think.
Oh, dude, you're screwed. You
Yeah.
need to get that flu shot.
I know. But it was tough. But I got up Saturday and probably did my best acting yet. Not Peter Pan.
I don't believe it.
Acting on the judge as a chili judge for the chili cook-off.
Interesting.
Because I was
Were you hacking
sweating.
into the chili?
I was not well at all.
Oh,
and I put that smile on, and I did my judge duties, and I tasted 20 different chilies, and then went home and,
It seems like if you've got the flu, chili tasting isn't good for you or other people at the chili competition.
It was, we were off to there were 3 judges. We were off to the side. They brought them to us. We didn't know whose they were. They were all numbered, and I would try a little, and the other big people were, eating them, and I would be like, just a little sip, and then right back to bed.
Who ended up winning?
You know what? I'm not quite sure. My husband brought my dad, and I looked at both of them and said, I'm going to be going home now. And,
when you get sick with the flu, do you take any, like, homeopathic remedies?
No, I take NyQuil all day long. Just knock me out. Too. Yes, just let me sleep it away. Especially when I have a sore throat. I mean, I can't. I'll have 50 babies before I have a sore. Like, I hate having a sore throat.
What does that mean? I'll have 50 babies.
Well, like I'll give birth to 50 babies.
Oh, you're saying you'd rather go through that discomfort?
Yes.
I've never heard that expression before.
I can't stand a sore throat. And it was a weird sore throat. It came and went. But I did get some movies in.
You texted me about one of them, Trolls. You saw,
I did see Trolls. That was super
loved.
cute.
That was a great
super
movie.
cute.
I love that movie.
And I saw that one about the Boston bombers.
Really?
Yeah, I saw that at the movie theater. And that was really good. It was really interesting because, and I won't spoil it, but you really got to learn a lot of what they did in between. I mean, you knew he got found on the boat. Right. Remember? They found him hiding in the boat.
And then they shot his brother, didn't they?
Yeah, and then he ran over his brother, too, which I think I remember that being put out there.
That. Interesting.
But it was interesting to see their whole in-between there.
Oh. Well, good movie, well made.
It was very good. It was very good.
Your boy Marky Mark did well in it.
Marky Mark did well.
The Funky Bunch.
Yes, he did well. We're going to New York City. just booked.
Wow. You must be beside yourself.
I'm excited. I'm super excited. I bought a new car. A lot went on this weekend.
Jeez.
All while I was sleeping in my bed.
Wow. All on NyQuil, apparently.
I did go to Junction Auto Saturday morning, now that I think about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're so great there. They literally have just been... and it's the end of the month, so there's lots of great deals right now that I'm trying to...
What kind of car did you buy? Can't remember. It was on NyQuil.
I drove the Acadia, and I drove... I'm buying the Acadia.
Oh, so you haven't actually closed the deal yet?
Oh, that's tomorrow.
Okay, got it.
But it's all been done by them bringing me the car.
Okay.
And I just drive it, and then they bring me another one.
They bring it to your house?
Yeah, they brought it to my house. They brought it to the office. Junction Auto. They're amazing.
That's where it's at.
And he's so good community-wise. You know, when Columbine happened, not Columbine, Chardon happened, because they're located in that area, he did a commercial talking about community and would not want his name Junction's name mentioned. It was all just to talk about community and how we need to come together. And
interesting.
Yeah, he's Ed Babcock, great people, very, very great people, and they own Wicked Woods.
Okay.
The golf course too.
Oh, the golf course. Interesting.
Yeah, good people. So yeah, that's what I did this weekend. Bought a car, watched some movies, had the flu.
All in a NyQuil-induced haze.
Was a judge for that, and booked a trip and bought a refrigerator.
Wow, that's busy as crap.
I know.
Good for you, Molly.
I know. Yeah, so we're going to go to New York City, and we're going to go see Bandstand. Oh, and then my friend's son was on Riverdale, which debuted on the CW on Thursday, so we got to watch. Riverdale is a new show based on Archie, the comic.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Veronica,
but it's
and all those?
very Twin Peaks.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's a star in that, and it's just so... I've known him since high school. It's been exciting to see.
It is mind-boggling to me and staggering how different you and I are with our media habits, right? Like, if I watch 40 minutes of television a day, that's amazing.
Yeah, but when I'm laying horizontal in bed with the flu, what else am I going to do?
Well, I'll tell you what I do. I read.
Oh, my eyes couldn't even... I could not even...
Yeah, no, that's true.
And you know I don't read anyways.
Well, I do know that.
No.
But you watch a lot of TV in general, right? Which I'm not judging. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
No, I love TV. I'm all about TV.
Yeah, see, like,
But I don't watch news. I have no idea what's going on.
Well,
I see that our flag is half, and I have no idea why. Do you?
No, I stopped watching the news on November 4th.
Oh, that's right.
Or 5th, or whenever the election was this year. But I did, so like a CW, the only thing I remember about CW is that I hated everything that was on it for a while. Yeah. I did watch, you know what I did watch? I watched the first Gilmore Girls. Just because
the Gilmore Girls.
Because I know you're crazy about it, and because of that This American Life where they, I I told you that story about the guy in Afghanistan who they were all like Marine Corps snipers, and their whole platoon were obsessed with the Gilmore Girls. So the Gilmore Girls producer or director sent all of them jackets.
Well, I want to get Jean, to our guest, to stage the little village, the little Gilmore Girls town in his new place, because it would fit right in there, and we could drink Luke's coffee.
Well, it's just like Sugar and Falls, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I wonder if the dementia unit folks at the Lantern would care at all that it was Gilmore Girls and not Sugar and Falls.
No.
No.
They would just want to be social. They just want to be loved.
I think you want him to stage the Gilmore Girls town at the Lantern.
Yes. Well, what's great about the Lantern is, and Jean will tell you all about it, but it's all locked facilities. So like when you go into the main, like my dad wouldn't be hanging around there. They're all off to a whole nother section. Secure... Yeah, but my dad has a key where he can roam anywhere he wants.
Yeah. I once understood from my great uncle who was in one of these places, and his wife who had dementia, who was in a different place, there is a difference between a nursing home and an assisted living facility. And an assisted living facility tends to have more freedom, right, and flexibility for the tenants there. And then and a nursing home...
There's all levels and stuff.
Yeah, and then in between, there's degrees to which they can... leave or they'll be on lockdown. Our guest today, Molly, we should talk about before he gets here. He'll tell us how to pronounce his last name properly, but I think it's Gene Makesh. What do you think it is? Let's do a competition to see who's closest.
I just call him Gene.
Gene. CEO and founder of the Lantern Group, which is an elderly care and dementia facility.
Correct. Right? They have one in Madison right now, and one in Chagrin Valley, and then one that just opened in Sabridge.
I don't know.
Which I don't know where that is.
We're not, I have no idea, but that's probably him walking in. Occupational therapist by training, entrepreneur of the year in 2012, and Carly Fiorina, former CEO of Hewlett-Packard and former presidential candidate, gave him the award on behalf of the Ohio Chamber of Commerce. He has held various senior executive positions with a Fortune 500 company before founding the Lantern Group, which is his company, and which is the home, right? Or two homes where they focus. I think that's him, right? Right there.
Yeah.
Focus on dementia. We should let him in and tell him that we're talking about him. Yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Hi, Gene. How are you?
Good, thanks.
We're just bragging all about you on the...
Alex Gertzberg, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah, come on in.
Come on in.
Yeah. And I will tell you that it's like a lot of the stuff that you do, I actually have been...
Yeah, Alex is dying.
Well, yeah, like, so I've read a lot about neuroplasticity, right? And I think that's something that you know a lot about.
Yeah.
And so, well, all right, so... well, you know what? We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Right? Like the whole like I think your approach to Alzheimer's and being able to retrain the brain a little bit kind of ties into that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here. Put a pin in that. We're going to come back to it. Right? So we were just saying how you are the founder of the Lantern Group, right? And how the Lantern Group is the most recent in, I guess, a series of jobs and projects that you've had that have dealt with elderly people, right? And you seem like a young guy.
Right? My looks can be deceiving.
Moisturizer. It's moisturizer. That's my secret.
That's your secret?
Yeah. But,
oh, boy.
No, it's not working. I got to switch moisturizer.
That is so going to come out at every podcast now.
So the first question is which one of us, Molly or I, was pronouncing your name correctly. So,
I didn't even try.
You didn't? All right, we'll take a guess.
And I said I just call him Gene.
You did say. I think it's Makesh. What do you think it is? Makesh. All right.
No, I think he's right.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I just call him Gene.
Makesh.
So,
That's okay.
Oh.
and you guys know each other because was it before your dad went to
Well,
live there?
the
or?
lantern of Schrin Valley is right outside my development, so I've watched this baby go up.
Okay.
All at the same time of going through dementia and my dad. So as soon as I think I probably tortured him to get it done, to get my dad in there.
Right.
So my dad's been there for, I don't know, since November, I think. And it has just been, I can't, he, where he was prior was a perfect place for him, for what he needed at that particular moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you have these, and we went to about 12 in a 3-month period in and out with my dad because they're not good places, some of them. And, my dad has is not full-blown Alzheimer's, so he's still very active, and I just could see him wilting away. Some of these places, they just want you to get through the day until your time is expired, and I couldn't stand that for my dad anymore because he just is full of life. But I will tell you, before he speaks, there was...
We're just going to keep talking about you.
I got... Gene had, he doesn't even know this, but I had gotten there, he had just had a seminar or something with his staff, and I got there, and I was talking with one of the girls who had just gone through this, and I'm telling you, I couldn't pull her down. She was so high off of all that he was talking about and what she had learned in this seminar, and it was just like so rewarding to see, because this is the person that's taking care of my dad,
Right.
and she's so excited about it, and she's so I mean,
awesome.
to me that is, and I have a key, and I could come in any time, and they know that, and that's another great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there at 10:30 at night if my dad needs something. So,
Is that
there's
unusual?
no laziness. There's no, they're not sleeping in the rooms there. I mean,
I see what you're
I
saying.
could pop in at any time. So I think that's a great thing that the staff they're always on their toes. But go ahead.
Thank you,
I'm going to
Molly.
brag about your staff
No,
all
thank
day
you.
long.
Thank you,
But
Molly. Well, we also have our challenges. One of the things I see, the challenge that we have is, and I say it with a lot of humility, and the reason I say it is because it's with a lot of frustration. It's me against the industry right now. Because I truly believe there's more we can do for our clients. And unfortunately, the caregivers that are coming through the system are only taught to provide just basic care. I'm finding a way to, if there's any way we could actually infuse our training into the basic nursing assistant curriculum. Because you're right, they're coming in, they have a good heart, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's about money, and they want to go home. And if they get fired from our facility, they'll find another facility.
Right.
It's just they go from one to another. How do you keep them motivated? And on top of that, I don't think we can forget about, when it comes to elderly, I think we got to do more than providing care. So that's one of the biggest struggles we have. Madison runs like a clock because I went through these struggles in 2011, 2012, and I changed the industry in that particular area. So when people come to work for us, they know that they can't just come and provide care. They also have to do teaching and training and all that stuff.
Madison is the first facility.
First facility.
Chagrin Falls is the second. Okay.
And I've not shared this with anyone. I lost about close to $457,000 the first 6 months just going through this
Yeah.
struggle in Madison. So we haven't lost that much here or in Saybrook. But the biggest challenge I have is when caregivers come and they go through our program, they want to work for us.
Yeah.
But after they go through the program and when it comes to application, they all struggle. And they say, well, I'm not hired to teach and train, I'm a caregiver. And my response to that is, first of all, I think the industry has to change. I'm doing what I can, all by myself. But when you look at the daycare industry, a good daycare provider, the last 5 years or so, a very good daycare provider, what they do is they have one caregiver for 10 kids. I mean, I've stood outside and observed daycare providers.
Right.
And you can't do it here. You'll get, they'll call the cops. Whereas in Chicago, you can actually stand and walk because those tall buildings, people are always walking back and forth. You can just stand there and watch what's going on inside the building because they've got these windows.
You're talking about kids' daycares.
Kids' daycare.
Okay.
So in kids' daycare, they have one caregiver to 10 kids.
Yeah.
When you look at 10 kids, and the energy that they have,
Right.
they move, they are distracted fast.
Yeah.
They, to keeping them focused, you got to party them. You got to not only care for them, but you also have to teach them.
Right.
So that you get them ready for kindergarten. You're preparing them for something large, something huge,
Yeah.
something higher. Why can't we do that in the long-term care industry? I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get that. To me, if the the daycare industry can do that, why can't long-term care do that? Do the same.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that is what my battle is. And and many caregivers, they don't want to do that. They want to just provide care. They want to party them, take care of them, and just leave.
Right. They want to find. I know my dad's always hiding things because he thinks people are stealing things. So I'll get the call, I'm missing my tie. And I'll go over there and then poor, I won't name her name, the nurse there, we're always searching through my dad's stuff. And sure enough, there's the tie. But they, let my dad search for it. It would be easy for the nurse to go in there and have my dad stay in his chair, search around his stuff, and find the tie.
Yeah.
But everything's an example. His laundry, my dad does his laundry. It's a teaching, a learning experience. He loves. Matter of fact, too much. I think he's gotten in trouble because he does it 3 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
He loves his laundry. He's been out raking the leaves with the maintenance department. He's been in the kitchen cooking, because he loves to cook. All these things that are going on, anyways.
Right.
At the Lantern, the elderly are encouraged to be a part of that, which makes my dad feel that he has a purpose there.
And it sounds, Gene, like this is not the standard, right?
No, this is not the norm.
Yeah. So I love how disruptive it is, right? When you said it's me against the industry, my ears perked up because that's kind of how I run this law firm, right? If we collectively think of something that no one else is doing, we create a meeting for it, right? We build a project around it. And I think that especially when you're dealing with an industry as vast and old, right, as both of ours, right? It's like turning the Titanic around. But it takes a small group of innovators to come in and say, all right, I'm going to lose $453,000 because I believe in this, which, by the way, I don't consider a loss. I consider it an investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's worth it because I believe in it and I have a passion for it, and I don't care that no one's doing this. In fact, that's an opportunity, right? Which I'm guessing is kind of how you see it, too, as an opportunity,
Absolutely,
right?
And Jean's wife is there. She's the doctor there. Part of, right? Yes?
No, she is getting ready to go be a resident, so she just helps
Okay.
out.
So, but she was there. Your brother.
He's there. He
He's
runs
involved
the IT,
there.
IT.
It's.
Good. How many?
We should have done it. We should have done our podcast
At the Lantern? Well, that's episode 2.
We'll take you a field trip. You go see my dad.
I'm in.
Love to show his pad off.
We still have a long way to go. I just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
So that, it's.
But I know for our family, and that transition to begin with is a difficult transition to move somebody that's elderly somewhere else. I mean, that could, there were many people that told me that I was crazy and that it was going to be the death of my dad. They came right out and said it. But I just knew that, I mean, just the hugeness of it, for one, and the ability to walk around. I mean, he's actually sore now because it's so big. You know, he gets his exercise. He does PT, he does OT, he does verbal.
Yeah. Does the lantern, can anyone come in at this point, or is there a screening process? Is there a capacity? Are you guys at capacity?
No, we're not at capacity. We just opened. We opened in September.
The Sugar and Falls one. Okay, right.
Mm-hmm. As of today, we have 17 clients.
Okay.
It's all private pay.
Okay.
It's not reimbursed by Medicare.
Oh, really? Not at all?
No, not at
all.
all.
Wow.
It's an assisted living, memory care.
Okay.
And we have 26 memory care units, and we have 26 assisted living units.
Okay.
It's very interesting, very, very interesting. I only have 2 clients that are actually local. Mali, and there's one more client that's actually local. The rest are all from out of state.
Huh.
And I'm still trying to understand why. And have we not done enough advertising? What is going on? We have clients from New York. We have, had some high-profile clients.
Is it is it word of mouth then?
I think.
How do they find you?
Well, in our industry, the last 6 months or so, we are known for. It's so funny because we're very small. It's only 3 buildings we have, but we are even on the West Coast. People know who we are now.
Oh yes.
And it's because of the dementia program. It's because of the environment, the design. In fact, I was told that there is another architect who's actually trying to copy what we have and put the same thing down in Parma. So the design has been it's almost 20 years out of the industry. So is the program. So really got a lot of attention because of that. But we are known for dementia care. That's not true at all. We are on the cutting edge with dementia, but we also do a regular elderly care, which is a JIVE program.
Which is a what program?
We have 2 programs. For dementia care, we have a program called SWAYUS, and for the elderly care, it's called the JIVE.
All right, I don't know. I've never heard. What do they mean?
SWAYUS is
that's your program.
They both are our program.
Okay.
Correct. SWAYUS is our memory care program.
Okay.
So essentially, our goal, my personal goal, so is the companies and my employees is, in 5 years, I think we're getting very close. In 5 years, we will have a treatment methodology where we can keep our clients functioning at the highest level of independence, or even independent within their setting. And in 10 years, we're hoping that we'll have a very effective outpatient clinic therapy program where we can actually keep the clients at home.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that. So, do you believe that Alzheimer's is something that is curable? 10 years from now, what you just described, does that mean you'll cure it, or you'll train people to learn to live with it independently at home?
Well, 40 years ago, when you look at individuals with Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, motor neuron disease, and even acute stroke, 40 years ago, those individuals were not able to go back home. When I say go back home, what I mean is reintegrate back into the community.
Right.
See, a disease or a condition is a problem when it does only one of these 2 things. Number 1, it takes our life away. Number 2, it impairs our ability to care for ourselves and also to care for others. Is that a true statement? So,
sure. Yeah.
When you look at Parkinson's, when you look at multiple sclerosis, you look at ALS, motor neuron disease, and even acute stroke. The 4 conditions that I just mentioned, they're all, besides stroke, they're all neurological. They're all progressive.
Right.
there is no cure.
Okay.
However, today, they all can go back home and function. They're able to
Right.
reintegrate back into the community. And when you look at Alzheimer's disease, it's the same.
Well, they can't all, right? Like someone with advanced ALS still has to have like somebody at home, like
Correct.
taking care of them.
Correct. However, with supportive pharmaceuticals and with rehabilitation,
Yeah.
It can be adaptive equipments, wheelchair, adaptive devices.
Okay.
They're able to function.
Whereas 40 years ago, they wouldn't have been able to even
Correct.
remember.
Correct.
Like somebody would have had to stay in a facility, you're saying,
Right.
40 years ago with
Absolutely.
any of those things.
Absolutely. So when you
Okay.
look at Alzheimer's disease or some forms of dementia, my favorite dementia is vascular dementia.
It's
what I
what?
did.
Vascular dementia.
Vascular.
Vascular dementia. Vascular dementia, when I look at vascular dementia, from a theory standpoint, theoretically, it's a vascular compromise. Essentially, when you truly look at what vascular compromise is, it's very, not even similar, same as stroke. A person with stroke, we're able to rehabilitate them and send them back home.
Right.
Or reintegrate them back into the community.
Yeah.
Why are we not able to do that with vascular dementia? Why someone with vascular dementia is progressing? And it's a question that I asked my physician friends.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Gene, if we manage the diet, if we control medically we can control and manage them, they should be able to do well.
Yeah.
So, and when I look at the dementias, when I look at the Alzheimer's disease, one of the things I realized is, and this realization came to me 6 months ago actually, because we had a client that just had moved into one of our facilities, and he was refused admission by every single assisted living facility and major hospitals from Lake County, Cuyahoga County, Summit County, and Mahoning County. When he came to us,
Because of his behavior.
Exactly. And he had a very different type of dementia, which is frontal temporal dementia. FTD is something that I have not very commonly seen 2 years ago. Lately, the last 8 or 9 months, we're beginning to see a lot of FTDs. FTDs affect individuals early on, in their early 50s, mid-50s, early 60s. And it really takes away their ability to function appropriately. So what I did was, when I looked at these individuals, or this particular individual, I said, you know what, I was looking him through the FTD lens, because when you look at FTD, well, there's nothing you really can do for this client. You got to medically manage this client.
Yeah.
But when I continued to look at that client, what I realized was, this client, the behaviors that he was manifesting was very similar to a severely autistic child. I said, wait a second, why are we stuck on the diagnosis? Why can't we just focus on the symptoms and find a way to minimize those symptoms? And that's exactly what we did with vascular dementia. We are looking at rehabilitating, making them independent. So, of course, I didn't know anything about autism. All I did was I learned a little bit about it when I was in school. So I called my friends, and they started teaching me that particular night. And that's when I also discovered something called a sensory processing disorder. Essentially, what happens is, the reason the children with autism, they act out, or their behaviors are a little away from the normal behavior, which we consider normal, is because there's there's a neural jam.
Right.
Their senses, what they perceive and how it is being processed and it's being integrated. There's a problem there. So if through various exercises, various techniques, treatment techniques, which could be desensitizing, weight bearing, and things like that, they're able to channel those sensory impulses in a nice way, in a better way, in a functional way. And we tried that with this client. Client is doing fantastic.
Yeah.
So from there on, we decided that we're not going to look at the diagnosis. We're going to look at the symptoms, because when you look at the symptoms, what I found was many of those symptoms are are manifested by other neurological conditions which
Right.
already have successful therapeutic interventions.
Yeah. So,
Deep.
well, so I've got, one of my kids has a learning disability, and so I spent a lot of time over the last decade, right, reading about and interviewing people about different therapies and different treatments, right, and that's where I kind of stumbled on this concept of neuroplasticity, which is basically the ability to rewire your brain to do what, 40 years ago people just thought you were done, right? But now you can train blind people to use other sensory organs, right, to substitute for eyesight, almost like a bat, right? You can train ear canal nerves to hear effectively, right? The best analogy that I read about this is it was in this book called The Brain That Changes Itself, which they just turned into a documentary. So you'll be able to read the book.
Because I don't read. That's the big
but the analogy that they gave was that in macadamization, right? So there was an economist in medieval England, right, who saw that you can improve the economies of different villages in England by putting brick roads in between them, right? Because when you had brick roads, the wagons would create tread marks in the brick that they would just get washed over in the mud if it was just mud, and so by retreading brick, right, when there would be mudslides or rain or whatever, wagons would still be able to, almost like trains, right? And so this concept was called macadamization. And they analogized it in this book to how your brain works, right? So if you repeat the same, it's also how habits are created, right? You repeat the same impulses between different neurons, right? Then you create neural pathways and signals that effectively can turn someone who has a learning disability, right, who was absolutely convinced that they were dyslexic and couldn't read, to somebody who may still have that disease, but now is able to create a workaround, and you can get rid of habits that way, and whether it's alcoholism or depression or whatever, by firing the same neurons over and over again. Conceptually, that's how new habits are formed and how you create workarounds to blindness or anything like that. Is that kind of similar to what you're finding?
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Let me give you another analogy. This is my analogy. Let's say that this room is about 100 square foot, and let's assume that this surface area is a brain surface area. So I'm going to take a bucket of water. I'm going to pour it in that one corner, and I'm going to let the water trickle all the way down to the other corner. So let's say that it takes about 10 minutes for the water to get from this corner to the other corner, the opposite corner. Now, if I increase the size of this room to 20,000 square feet, so I do the same thing. I pour the bucket of water there. Instead of taking 10 minutes, it's going to take maybe a week to get to the opposite side. In a similar fashion, in our industry we call it cognitive reserve. If I'm able to increase the surface area of the brain, the bucket of water is dementia, is Alzheimer's disease. The surface area, this is the cerebral cortex. So Alzheimer's disease is the disease of the cerebral cortex. See, I cannot cure the disease. The disease is slowly, it's going to progress little by little. What we have, like the way you said, we have the ability to increase the surface area of the brain. We do, because if you take a human brain 20 years ago, same gender, from the same demographic, same everything, you will see that the brain today is almost twice the size. The only reason is our brain has the ability to expand and grow, and we are directly responsible to the growth of our brain, which is through learning, through giving our brain opportunities to network, to create new neural networks, new neural pathways.
Is it only through reading, though?
A lot of activities.
Okay, good.
Purely learning.
What we need to figure out is how to get Molly to start reading books a lot more than she does, and I think that we might be onto something with this rewiring of the brain. We got to talk about that sometime.
I just can't understand it. That's the problem. My brain's too cranial overload is what my mother always said.
Oh, interesting.
Got too much going on up there that I can't seem to fit in.
Don't beat yourself
up. Go ahead.
It is amazing. See, we always talk about the cranial overload. Mm-hmm. It is amazing there's no such thing as overload in our human brain. We think there's an overload because we get exhausted.
Right.
All we got to do is give our brain an opportunity. There are over 200 billion neurons, and there are over 3 trillion connections. If you take the neurons and you put them together with those connections, you can go to the moon and come back. Yeah. That's how much is here in our 3-pound brain. But going back to what you said, imagine these neurons to be a jungle, a forest, which we call it neuronal forest. For us to create a pathway, when you try to walk in through a forest or a jungle, I mean, you got to walk that path back and forth, over and over. That way, you create that path. Right. In a similar fashion, like the way you said, when you repeat. Right. And there are studies that shows that, and that's why caregivers are very, very important. Yeah. No, in our industry, in healthcare, only the caregivers have the ability to impact the elderly. I don't have that. Doctors don't have that. Right. They have that. The only reason being is there's something called as errorless learning. To learn something errorless, there has to be no distraction. You have to learn a certain thing the same way over and over. Right. And when it's done 400 to 450 times, you create the neural network, the neural pathway. Yeah. And if you divide, let's say we do 3 repetitions, 450 times, 450 divided by 3, we're looking at close to 4 months to learn something very, very new. Yeah. So, and that cannot be done in a therapeutic environment or a doctor. It's only the caregivers that can do that. So they have to spend that time with the elderly, and it doesn't matter whether they have dementia, if they don't, or not. My biggest frustration is, or I shouldn't say frustration, my challenge is, I wish I can start increasing the cognitive reserve early on. Yeah.
Well, so, what's your view, Gene, on the role of pharmaceuticals in all of this? Are they slowing us down by sort of preventing or delaying some of that learning process, or are they helping us by kind of putting a Band-Aid on the problem? I don't know if pharmaceuticals even have a role in dementia.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there are many medications, but there are no medications that actually can cure any form of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Yeah. And even medications such as Aricept, it doesn't work all the time. It only increases the probability of the neurotransmitters bonding. That's all it does. Okay. And what the medications do is it minimizes the symptom. Like, for example, when you're aggressive, when you're agitated, when you're combative, you really can't learn. You can't engage. So medications helps in minimizing those behaviors. Yeah. When those behaviors are minimized, then the individual is at their best or at their potential, optimum potential to engage and to learn, and is able to give the brain an opportunity to create new neural networks. So yes, medication is important.
But you need a facility that respects that. Sure. Because just in personal with my dad, he went because of an error in medicine is how the spiral started, and then it was easy to just keep giving him antidepressants and sleep aids, and so by the time we yanked him out of a facility because he was so comatose on meds, because that was an easy way to deal with him.
Well-
Just give him a whole bunch of meds. Literally, and Gene might not even know this, but since he's been there since November, we've gotten him off half of his antidepressants, and I mean,
Yeah.
he was on 3 pages worth of medication when he was only on maybe 4 meds when we started this whole process. So,
Well, and there's a corollary to my question, right? So, do you think, and feel free to pass if this is too controversial, but do you think that pharmaceutical companies, or more likely medical professionals, find it very easy to just say, give them more drugs, give them our drugs in particular, and all this retraining and brain rewiring isn't going to work, so just stick to the drugs? Do you find that any kind of bias there?
The pharmaceutical management
Yeah.
is constantly and consistently evolving when it comes to elderly care in general, especially with dementia, certain forms of dementia and Alzheimer disease. There are, and of course, it's not the majority, but there's always, you see here and there, sometimes medications are prescribed for caregiver convenience.
Yeah.
Right. And the key is, I think, the good approach is, and if you talk to a good psychiatrist, a neurologist, what they would say is, we introduce an antipsychotic, let's manage the client and find a way to slowly wean the psychotic away. See, behavior, in my mind, is a form of expression.
Right.
Either the client is,
Sure.
the individual is comfortable or uncomfortable. Anything and everything that they do, there's a causative element to it.
Yeah.
When you slap them with a medication, what happens is you're not addressing the cause. So we as caregivers, care providers, have to figure out what the cause is.
Right.
And if we're able to remove that cause from the environment or from the individual, for the most part, we can manage the behavior. But sometimes it happens so fast, we do need those medications.
Yeah.
But again, a good provider or a good psychiatrist or a neurologist, what they would do is they'd find, try to find a way to get that medication out of the system as
Yeah.
quick as possible.
and you're also talking about working with individuals who sometimes aren't able to say exactly what the problem is. My
Right.
dad, I believe, has the vascular dementia, so he knows everybody. He doesn't have the Alzheimer's where he forgets who we are. He knows everybody.
Yeah.
He'll know Gene's name. He knows everybody. But he can't. He knows what he wants to say, but it doesn't come out of his mouth the way, like the head
Right.
and the mouth don't communicate
Yeah.
properly anymore. And he just kind of, but he's been learning, you just have to kind of slow down and, take a breath and now tell me what you want. But, not everyone is as good as my dad, and there are people there who can't tell them, and sometimes it's my foot hurts or something, and they're running around like crazy, and everyone, what's the problem? But they can't. It's got to be just.
Yeah. Is there? I thought I read somewhere that some study recently concluded that for the first time they were able to trace what causes Alzheimer's, and it was something about a mutation or a virus or something like that. Or am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy.
Did I
Wow,
read that?
that's.
I mean, I am, but not about this.
That's debatable.
Clearly.
There are many studies, and there are many claims, but nothing so far has been is researched enough or proven. Essentially, we believe at this point, things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
That it's purely because of inflammation.
Yeah. Inflammation. Okay.
Inflammation, and again, this is very controversial. You have A's and naysayers. I mean, yes and no parties.
Yeah.
But
But what causes the inflammation? What do you think causes it? Is it genetics?
Genetics is less than 5%.
Okay.
5% or less. The rest is,
environmental?
Spontaneous.
Spontaneous. Really?
Yeah.
But somebody, this is what we were just talking about before you came in. We were talking about vaccines, and I was thinking, are we 30 years from now, right? 40 or whatever, are the scientists going to look back on 2016 and say, those guys were so silly. They were taking flu vaccines when they should have been doing this, or those guys were so silly. Some of them weren't taking flu vaccines, right? So you just said it's spontaneous. There's got to be something causing, right? There's got to be something making the inflammation happen that is more than just spontaneous, doesn't it?
What
are they going to say 30 years from now?
It may change. You never know the more
And
you
isn't
find.
it different depending on what type of dementia or Alzheimer's?
Correct.
I know my dad suffered from TI or little strokes in his brain, and he would go every 3 years and get a CAT scan, and you could see the effect that these, what are they called?
TIAs.
TIAs.
Yeah.
That they would cause. You could see the brain scan. You could see whereas somebody else with a different type of dementia or Alzheimer's there would be another reason for their. I think there's so many. It's like the autism spectrum. There's so many different levels, and
I just read that there are over 120 types of dementia. And
Alzheimer's is one of them?
Alzheimer's is one, yes. Dementia is an umbrella, and
Okay.
Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia.
And are there things that we would see now, when we lose our keys and we say, oh no, are there things that we would be seeing now at the ages
signs
that we are at?
No.
Do they know?
No, see, forgetfulness, when we forget stuff, forgetfulness is not, it's not the normal part of aging. It's not. There is some confusion. We all forget. We forget, and we're able to retrace and figure out, and
logic. We use our
yes,
brain and we walk
exactly.
through it, and
when forgetfulness becomes a problem, when it puts you at risk, when you're not able to retrace, when you're not able to recollect, when you're not able to, you're subjecting yourself, you're at risk. For example, you're driving in your own cul-de-sac, not trying, you don't know where the house is, or you keep leaving your stove on, or things like that. When it starts impacting your day-to-day functions, yes, that's a trigger. Yeah, but just regular forgetfulness is no.
And what led you? Why Alzheimer's and dementia? Why elderly care? Why you were in physical therapy? Yes, OT or okay. So why? How did it lead you? What was the turn? And why open? Why not just stay at a nursing home and work with elderly? Why did you have to start your own, or why?
It's a very good question. I asked the question to myself quite a bit.
Because it was not an easy road. You had failures, according to some research. There was loss of money. There was, you got fired.
Yes.
On his first day.
On my first day. Oh, that's all there. Okay.
Yeah, it's all there.
Go ahead. How did you get?
I started as an occupational therapist with a very, very nice company, and I learned quite a bit from being employed with them, and they gave me a lot of opportunities for me to expand my talents and my skill set. I used to manage the rehab side, the compliance for the rehabilitation side of the business. I had about 120 nursing homes over 12 states that I used to manage, all the way from even more north, an hour or 2 hours north of Green Bay, Wisconsin, all the way down to Oklahoma. And at that time, I felt that again, I was a lot younger. I felt that I can actually do a better job. One of the things I realized was, didn't matter where they are from, from the northern part of the country or from the southern part of the country, the need was the same. They just wanted to have a good time. They wanted to sit down and talk to someone. They were very lonely, and I just felt that I could provide all of that stuff, even though I was working for a very good company, a very good provider. So at that time, I started working out a plan to go on my own, and when for some reason, I do very well with old folks. I have no idea why. They seem to like
Because it's
me.
your calling.
They seem to like me, and they bond with me right away. Especially individuals with dementia and Alzheimer's. Some forms of dementia and Alzheimer's.
You have to, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you had to have asked yourself at some point, what is it about the way I talk to them and the way I think about them that makes them bond with me? You've asked that question?
I have asked that question, and I still don't know the answer.
Well, you listen, and you allow them to, like when it's frustrating when you're talking to especially someone you love and you know what the answer is, and it's frustrating to sit there and because I know I'm supposed to let my dad think it through, but I just need to get to the point, and I've got 8,000 million other things I need to do. Well, when Gene's talking to my dad, it's
patient.
Yeah. And well, what are you trying to say? And then he'll sit and wait, and my dad will, and then somehow Gene pieces it together and gets that he'd like another cup of water. But I think sometimes, and probably with caregivers too, sometimes it's like, I know you just want another cup of water.
I got stuff to do. I gotta go.
Yeah.
But one of the things, Alex, is I have this habit of I will only engage in something where I know that I'll be able to give my 500%.
Right.
And I want to do a good job. And I will be able to see that thing through. Failure is not an option for me in whatever I do. And I think I learned that early on with me getting fired the very first day. And I went through a lot of challenges in my life. And that's when I realized that, yes, the school prepares you, the college prepares you, your parents prepare you to face the world, but the real world is very different.
Yeah.
And even I didn't want to do Alzheimer's at all. When I opened the Madison facility in 2003, 2004, I just wanted to take care of the elderly. That's about it. And dementia, Alzheimer's was something, it was not in my radar, and I didn't want to do it because I didn't think I could do a good job. And I said, my family, my employees, my staff, they all came and said, Gene, there's an opportunity, we should try doing this. I said, I don't want to just walk into something and care for someone, or if I'm not able to do a good job. So what happened was, I felt that when I exited Sun Healthcare Group, that was my previous employer, I felt that I knew a lot about elderly care, and I really thought that, I'm going to be really successful in this, and I'm going to grow and expand and do very well. But when I started working with my clients, that's when I realized that I actually had no idea, no clue. I didn't even know how to talk to my employees, because when I was with Sun Healthcare, I was managing other managers, VPs, directors. All of a sudden, for me to start engaging with a cook, someone who makes $9, $8, $10, I'm not even know how to talk to them. And it was a struggle. They started teaching me how to care for them, how to actually keep them, how to inspire them and motivate them.
Right.
In a similar fashion, my clients started teaching me how to care for them. I still remember Norma, every evening around 5:30, she's ready to go home. And first few weeks I would reason out with her, and that didn't work at all. Then I quickly realized that maybe I got to find a way to get into her world and figure out what is going on. and I knew that Norma loves race cars. And at one point, before she retired, she used to own a couple of jets. She's from New York, and she loved convertibles and very fast cars. So one evening around 5:30, when she's ready to go home, she wanted to go home, and she's about 90. I believe she was about 92 years old. And I very politely asked Norma that, "Oh, you want to go home?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, you know what? All right. Which convertible are we taking?" And she goes, "What do you have?" I said, "I have a Corvette. I have an Aston Martin." No foreign cars. How about a Corvette? And then I said, "Well, how fast do you think we should drive? Should we put the top down?" And when I started engaging with her, we talked about horsepower. We talked about tires, wheels, and we talked about has she driven the car, what year, what kind of car she liked, what year, what was her favorite model. Slowly started working her back to the lantern.
Right.
And actually dived into her world. And I said, wow. So that's how when I discovered living in the moment. And I wrote a chapter in my book, Living in the Moment, where you need to find, we need to leave our world outside. We need to leave our world. We have to find a way to jump into their world. And
right.
So they started teaching me. Same thing with Walter. Walter owned a couple of malls. He owned a couple of vineyards, and every summer he would bring me grapes. And I mean, he was so excited, he was so happy, and he would come and tell me, "Gene, everything that you serve me, I've never had this in my life." And this man had a lot of money, but he never lived in style.
Yeah.
And he was very, very grateful for that. But he slowly began to slip away. And around 7:30, he would walk down the corridor every single evening and demand breakfast. Usually they have the dinner around 5:30. Then 2 hours later, he's out there asking for breakfast. He gets very upset when we don't serve. And that's when we said, okay, we're going to come up with a snack policy. And that's how the snack policy came into play. But when I was driving back home, why is Walter walking every evening? I mean, he sees the clock, he knows the time, but when he looks at 7:30, he thinks that it's 7:30 in the morning. I said, why don't I create an environment where I can have the sunrise and sunset inside the building with a virtual sky ceiling, and maybe he can take some cues from the environment. And that's how the sky ceiling came into play. So every little thing that you see within the facility is an idea that was presented to me by my clients. And so essentially what happened was, when we did the virtual sky ceiling in 2011 in Madison, we created the moon and the stars with projectors. So we had projectors, shooting up stars and moons and the space and things like that. It's pretty cool. What happened was, 2 or 3 months into the operation, the clients felt that when they started seeing the stars move, they felt that there were worms. They began visually hallucinating. The thing is, the sky ceiling was too low. In Chagrin, it's pretty high. In Madison, it was too low. It was a 12-foot ceiling. So we had to pull that system out, because then again, that's going to create conflict, other unusual behaviors, undesired behaviors, I should say. So we pulled that out, and we went with a different technology. That technology failed also. So at this point, what we have is we just have those stars and moons like that, like fluorescent reflectors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we have at this point.
But and the lights, though, there's like times, like half the lights go off at a certain time, and then the rest. And I'll tell you, and Jean's gonna find me one day just in the bed and in the bathtub, because there's a room for people who maybe live out of town and they're coming to visit there. It's like the
hospitality.
And I'm telling you, someday that Mr. Gebler and I get at it, and I need to go just have a moment. Jean's gonna be opening the door. I'm gonna be right there, because it is decked out. It's called. Oh no, that's not in Natasha Hall.
No, it's actually
right
named after a client of ours. She was huge into hospitality.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
We created a Ritz-like feel, like a Four Seasons feel, because we felt that I always believe that our operation should be transparent. Families should be able to come in anytime. We encourage families from out of town to stay there, and we don't charge them anything. They can eat there, they can stay there, and at any given time they can see how the care is being provided.
And a PlayStation room for the kids.
Yeah, the kids.
You remember what it was like when you went to go see your grandma?
Yeah, I hated it.
Yes, you
It was
hated
awful.
it. Now the kids, they go in
Yeah,
there's this little
Yeah.
playroom and
That's outstanding. What I was most taken by was how you really attack all of the senses, right? There's aromatherapy there, there's sound, something with sound.
We have audio, yeah.
Right? There's obviously the lights in the ceiling.
Oh, there's movie night.
Right?
There's the hairdresser.
That is really
There's a whole
innovative.
sensory
It's
room that
amazing.
just got moved in there.
We just, what I believe, our posture, and our attitude is directly influenced by everything that's around us. So there's a reason why we feel great walking into a spa. The smell, the lighting, all of that stuff. Same thing when you go close to water or
Right.
you're up on a mountain.
Right.
So all our five senses that really influences and impacts our posture and our attitude. Very, very important. So I have my clients with my elderly clients with or without dementia or without dementia or Alzheimer's disease. If there's a way I can calm them down, if I can put them at ease, create an environment that's very peaceful and tranquil, then I'm able to engage them in activities and exercises that enables me to actually create those new neural pathways, neural networks.
It's amazing. Do you have any kind of like yoga or meditation?
No, we don't. We don't. The only reason is concentration, attention span is a big challenge for them.
Sure.
At this point, our goal is if I'm able to have them at least complete a task on their own, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to hear that your dad, the medications have been, weaned out.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being is that it's a huge accomplishment. It validates the environment. And that's what we are after, because that's nice to hear. Because in Madison, the program, we are able to wean clients out from medications, within the first 6 or 8 weeks.
Right. I mean, that was more me because, with the transition alone, that was the first thing she wanted to do, and I was like, let's get him adjusted before we start touching his meds. But with that being said, when you asked about the yoga and stuff like that, they do have a nice workout room with the bars, and my dad loves.
We have a therapy room. We also, I've been working on this sensory space, essentially finding a way. There's a reason why this is really cool. Our human brain has over 200 billion neurons. And there's something called as a mini brain, which is the cerebellum.
Right.
The cerebellum has 50% of brain neurons. Cerebellum is not affected by any form of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Cerebellum is responsible for movement, coordination, and posture. Static or dynamic. Okay. Now, going back to the same principle, ability to care for ourselves or for others, which is nothing but dressing, bathing, all of that stuff, right? All of that stuff is movements. When you break your arm, that's when you realize, oh my gosh, I can't get dressed or I can't take a shower.
Yeah.
And that's all movements. And those movements are all controlled by cerebellum.
Yeah.
So if I'm able to enable my client to be independent with their ADLs, activities of daily living, which is like dressing, bathing, stuff like that, then I'm not too worried about the disease. The disease can keep progressing, but at least the individual is able to live a life that's very fulfilling. So we're tapping into the cerebellum now. And the functional space that we created, there's a lot of movements.
Right.
and we call it cerebellum exercises.
Yeah.
Vision is very important. Vision is super important because the visual cortex is actually back in the back of the head, and it comes up and it crosses over.
Right.
Okay, and that what happens is if we're able to see when your visual learning, when you see something, you're able to remember that more than when you hear something or when you're memorizing. There's a reason.
Yeah.
So vision is such an important thing when it comes to brain development.
Well, and if you learn something by combining multiple senses, like if you're reading it and seeing a picture of it and doing some other activity that reinforces it, the thing that you're learning, you'll learn it even more. So the more senses that you can get. I was thinking while you were talking just now, another thing that I was reading a lot of when I was studying my kids' learning disability was kinesthetics, right? And how these days the science seems to all agree that movement in general is good for your brain, right? So there's a lot of controversy over reducing recess and gym time for students, and scientists would say no, you need more athletics, more gym time for students because it gets their brain working. And it goes back, it's evolutionary, right? It goes back millions of years, right? When for most of our existence we were walking 12 miles a day, right? Just for food, right? These days we're sitting at a computer most of the time. And so our brains are dying, and what our brains are expecting from our body is a lot of movement. And if we're depriving our brains of that movement, then they're not in their element. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Is that why you parked all the way over there to come here?
No, you're absolutely right. There's something called a sensory cortex and motor cortex, and what they found was when the patients or the individuals or subjects were engaged in just sensory activities alone, the sensory cortex was energized. That's they do a functional MRI. Essentially, what it is they see where the blood, how the blood flows, and they found that there's a lot of blood going to sensory cortex, nothing to motor cortex. However, when the subjects were engaged in a motor activity, there was blood flowing into sensory cortex and also motor cortex.
Yeah.
Because for you to carry out a motor movement, you need your sensory.
Right.
All the five senses to help you to coordinate that movement.
Yeah.
So you're right. Movement is very, very important.
And Gene, you were just awarded something, and I don't even see it on our research. PBS just awarded you with something.
Yeah, they have a little arm, a subsidiary called Next Avenue. For the year 2016, I was on the top 50 influencers.
Influencing.
I'm one of the top 50 influencers when it comes to aging for the year 2016.
And when I asked you that question about not, what led you here, and you were like, I don't even know why did that validate you? Did you say, I mean, I'm sure knowing you know there's so much more for you to do, but did you feel, I'm in the right direction, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, my calling?
I think so, absolutely. I
mean, you definitely have passion about it.
Absolutely. I believe that I'm in the right direction. To me, my culture and also my faith influences my engagements. I think to a larger degree, which I didn't realize that.
How so?
Culturally, we are taught to respect the elderly. In our Indian culture, there's a certain way you sit in front of the elderly. You can't put your legs cross your legs. When someone when someone older walks into the room, you stand up, and you bow down and you wish them. So there are I was ingrained. I think growing in the Indian culture, I still do that when I'm with a group of Indians. Faith also, I'm a practicing Christian, and I don't talk about it a lot, but what I realized was, it took me a while to realize this, but what I realized was, see, we're all created in this earth for a purpose. And, we are very uniquely placed in this world, in this planet. We just have to figure out what our purpose is. And not many times, what I've realized is, sometimes, we are late in figuring out what our purpose is, or some of us don't even get to realize our purpose. And as we were going through this process, I realized that my life is not about myself, or, enriching myself. Yes, I do like finer things. I love to go on great vacations. I love driving good cars. Absolutely. I'm not, but it is about impacting. It's about blessing the people around you. My life is not about myself. It's all about people around me. So Lanterns, one of Lantern's vision and mission is to not only impact, our elderly, but also to inspire and motivate our staff and their families to engage with, in our mission and our vision, and continue to grow collectively.
So that's actually, I'm glad that you said that. So that's the second time that you mentioned motivating the staff. I think you mentioned it the first time. You just mentioned it. And I have to know, because this is something that I'm constantly thinking about, right? So you've got ideas and vision and these concepts that you pull from a lifetime of education, culture from your clients. How many employees do you have?
Right now, I think we are up to 150, I think.
Okay. So how do you keep them motivated? And how do you get them to have bought into your vision?
Well, we have our core values.
Yeah.
So we screen them at the time of when they come to us. We're doing a quick assessment, and it's really not a proven assessment. It's something that we came up with to understand what their core values are, and if their core values matches with our core values, and that's our first line of.
Well, like what kind of questions do you ask?
It's purely based on our core values and core practices.
Okay.
We look for passion. We look for commitment, and we look for dedication, and there are questions framed around those three. I don't look for staff with knowledge or degrees, because that is something I can teach, but I cannot teach passion.
Right.
Commitment, can be taught. Dedication can be taught. Passion is something that we just cannot teach. And one of the things I realized is, and I could, again, this is my my observation, my finding. We as humans, we all have very unique DNAs. That's why, in a murder case, or they're always testing, the DNA. It's amazing. How many people are there in this world? And everyone has a different DNA. You have people with same skin color, hair color, but DNAs are so different. In a similar fashion, I quickly realized that we all of us have a very, very unique talent. It's like our DNA. We got to figure out what that unique talent is, and that's what we do. When we engage in that very unique talent, which many times could be our passion. No matter what, we'll get tired, but we'll never get exhausted. So the difference between being tired and being exhausted. When you're tired, you rest and you're back to, exhausted. You try to come back, but eventually you'll leave. So we try to figure out what the unique talent is, and the unique talent is anything that you do without expecting a reward.
Interesting.
So that is that is my observation.
I feel like I could talk to you forever, because like just from the last minute of what you said, I've got like 17 questions.
Well, we're going to have a follow-up podcast.
We are.
Thank you so much.
Here, let's do some lightning round questions,
Yes.
Gene.
Okay,
sure. The first is, what has been your biggest success? And you're not allowed to say your kids. Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have children.
Okay,
yeah.
you're not allowed to say kids. That's everyone's go-to.
Yeah.
You know, my biggest success,
Thus far, because I feel there's going to be much more
Oh, yeah.
for him.
you know, actually, my biggest success is me having the ability to change the current industry.
Excellent. Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people traveling from from across the country and also from around the world, coming to see our design, and they think that this is how it should
Yeah.
be. That's huge, because when
That's great.
we designed this in 2010, 2011, no one was paying attention to
Yeah.
this. So.
Well, and I mean, that really goes well with what you said earlier about what your purpose is, right? And I always think about. I mean, we talked. Jeff Hoffman from Priceline sat where you're sitting, and we were talking about how defining success is often by what fulfills you, how you feel fulfilled. And in Jeff's case, and I think in my case, I think in both of your cases, right, what fulfills us is impact, right, is changing other people's lives for the better, right? And in your case, it's the industry, right, Molly? In your case, it's 500 members of the Chagrin Valley Chamber. Certainly in my case, I feel like it is the way legal services are delivered to people. And if I can make an impact on the billable hour and getting rid of it and eradicating it from the way people go to lawyers, then I'm going to do that. So I think that's telling about sort of the purpose-driven life that you've got and what fulfills you. What's been your biggest failure?
That's a very good question, because I don't see failures as failures.
I love it. I'm so good. I can talk Molly's ear off about that exact thing. Please keep going. I needed to have an outburst there. I totally agree.
And to me, every I actually don't have any failures. To be very honest, I mean, I see them as a temporary roadblock, or a challenge to sharpen my skills, or my talents, or my or me needing a need for me to go and acquire more knowledge to address a problem or an issue. So I don't think I have any failures.
So let me reframe the question, because I say there's no failure, there's only learning experiences, right? So what has been your biggest temporary roadblock or learning experience, or however way you want to define it other than as a failure?
Temporary roadblock, there's many, but what is the biggest? My inability to effectively communicate to other providers and to other healthcare professionals the need to change the way care is being provided in this industry.
Okay, that is a temporary roadblock because you're doing it now, and you're going to keep doing it until it gets done, right? Molly, would you like to ask your question?
An influential woman, maternal figure in your life. Was there? Is there?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's my mom and my wife. You have to know me. I can't say it.
It can all be edited out. You can say whatever you want.
You were bad. You were a hellion.
I was
partier. Delinquent. We can keep going.
Yeah, guessing is always worse, so you should just come clean.
Yeah, it's my mom and my wife.
Good.
They gotcha.
They motivate, they inspire, they see things that I don't see, and they keep pushing me in a nice way.
Are your parents here?
My mom is here.
Okay.
And to be very honest, my mom she's in her mid-70s. she knows that I build facilities and I do stuff. That's about it.
Doesn't know the extent.
Wow.
She doesn't know the details.
And would you feel comfortable having your mother in one of your places?
We talked about it 2 days ago. She said, are you going to charge me for it's going to be free? So.
Boy, well, you better not. She's your mother.
So, yeah, she is. It's amazing. I have to tell you this, and I say this in a very nice way. It's, where I'm today is a lot of women help me. And one of them is Lynn, and I'm trying to find where she is. She was my first supervisor, and I was 24 years old, and just got fired. And that woman, my God, she had that faith and trust, and the confidence. And from there on, even when I moved from one position to another, it's always been a woman in my life.
Good. Well,
Women are awesome.
you are, Molly, 50% of the population.
Yes.
Right. So chances
The
are,
chances are higher,
chances
right?
are.
Yeah.
And a growing
Yes.
part of the C-suite, right? A growing part of the executive population. Thank goodness. Good. And then our last, actually no, we've added a lightning round question, so there's two more. So the fourth lightning round question is: Do you ever have limiting beliefs, like self-limiting beliefs, and how do you deal with them?
I used to, but the last 2 or 3 years, I would say no, I don't.
Okay. What changed?
To me personally, it's my faith. And what I do on a daily basis today is truly a miracle for me, because you have to know my life.
Oh, that's I feel podcast too.
I think Gene and I are going to have an off podcast
Yeah.
conversation at some point.
For me to do what I do is truly actually a miracle, and I go back to the purpose, and I keep asking that question every single day: what is my purpose in this planet?
Okay. Our last and final lightning round question, Gene, is there something embarrassing that's happened to you that no one else knows about? This is officially my favorite question now, by the way, Molly.
Actually, there's quite a few.
And I couldn't think of one last time.
I can't think of one right
I
now.
know,
but,
it's hard.
Quite a few.
Well, pick out your favorite.
Well, while you're thinking, remember I put it out on Facebook because I couldn't think of one.
Did people respond?
Well, my daughters did, and it had just happened, and I can't believe I forgot it. We were at Pizza Fire, and have you ever been?
No.
So they call your name out. You order your pizza. It's phenomenal. It's in Woodmere. It's so great. It's all fresh, and you make your own pizza. So they'll say, Molly, your pizza's ready, and they'll say it loud. So I said to my girls, wouldn't it be funny if I said, Molly, woo, woo? So when he went
As your name?
As he said, hey, Molly, your pizza, he'd have to say, Molly, woo, woo, your pizza's ready. So I thought I was talking, I had seen the guy behind the thing, and he was coming out. I was getting something to drink, and I turned to him, I said, next time I come, would you, if I say Molly, would you say that? And he kind of looked at me, and okay, and he walked away. I thought, gosh, he was so much nicer behind the thing. He's so rude now. And I turn around, and both my daughters are peeing their pants because he was just a guest. He was just somebody who just got up, and he's back in his seat now looking at me like, who's the crazy lady? And there I turned behind the pizza place is the guy I thought I was talking to, and we literally had to leave the restaurant because I was so embarrassed. So,
that is a funny story, but I have to believe there's something way more embarrassing in your past.
No. All right, Gene, your turn.
I just had one a week ago. Nothing really... that's the only one I can think of. We were at the Cavs game, and usually it's very crowded, and we have 2 tickets, so usually I take either one of my kids all the time, or my wife does. And this time I took my daughter, Hannah, and what happens is, I don't hold my kids' hands. They hold my finger. I've always done that because there's this fear in me that sometimes you can end up dislocating a child's shoulder or wrist. So Hannah was holding my hand, and I was walking, and it's usually Hannah's a slow walker. We were going through the crowd, cutting through the crud, and I was in the front, and Hannah was
I see where this is coming.
Hannah was right in the back, and all of a sudden I lost Hannah. Okay, so I reached out and I grabbed a hand.
Oh my God!
And I started walking.
A finger,
and
no.
And all of a sudden I felt like, oh my gosh, this hand with this finger was large, and looked around. I literally was holding a woman's hand.
and she was probably feeling pretty good about herself.
And she walked. That's the funny part. She walked with me, 5
Was she
steps.
elderly? You did say you have that presence.
You're a good-looking dude, Gene. I mean, come on.
So Hannah was walking behind and looked around and said, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. I am so sorry." And the gentleman with her, you can have her.
Did Hannah
That's
go home and say,
hilarious.
"Daddy was holding some girl's hand," and the cats came?
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's great. That's great.
I officially declare the need for a part 2 to this podcast because I want to keep talking to you.
And we need to go.
But alas, as the sun sets slowly in the west, we must bid our audience a fond farewell.
Go to Restaurant Week all week
happening
long.
right now.
26 restaurants, amazing. Going to Jekyll's right now, 3 courses for $25. I mean,
Really?
seriously. Oh,
Is that just this week?
Just this week.
See, this isn't going to work because this podcast won't come out until next week.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Well,
damn it.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed podcast week last week.
Restaurant Week,
Or
yes.
Restaurant
I
Week
will.
last
I'm going
week.
somewhere
Yeah.
every day. Tomorrow I think I'm
Yeah.
going to take my dad for, he loves ribs. So either Blazing Bills or Rick's. They've got great deals. Hyde
Good
Park's
stuff.
deal is, I think, $38 for 3 courses.
Hyde Park.
Yes.
Oh, because they're on
Wayne
Chagrin.
Beechwood, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Telling you,
lovely.
great
Wow.
deals.
We were at Panini's last night. They're not
Buy one, get one half.
Oh,
But it starts today.
Oh, today. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Buy one, get one half at Panini's.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to be on TED Talks.
Stop
Oh!
it! Really? Is it like TEDx, like one of the satellite
I don't
ones,
know.
or?
Honestly, I don't know because they reached out to me. They have a coach now. They've assigned a coach to me.
Wow,
That's big.
that's fantastic.
It's in April 25th. They have me listen to Anderson, I believe, his podcast. Then they also had me read the book, and they've given me 8 minutes to do the presentation. This is in Indianapolis, so
Okay.
very structured and.
Yeah.
So you're going to keep us posted on that?
Yes,
It's amazing.
I'm
That's
a
very
little
cool.
because I'm a freelancer. I can't. I'm not a structured speaker.
Right. You like to just
Yeah.
let it go. That's why this
Good
was
luck.
so great.
You'll be fine.
Oh,
I got
yeah.
a feeling you'll be
Totally
fine.
fine. Well, thank you,
Oh,
Gene.
you're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, can I talk about about the essay contest for
Yes.
1 minute? Were you getting ready to say it? All right, here. Say anything? No.
No, I'm good.
Okay, you got to go. I got to go too. Here, just hang on a second.
Go ahead.
Hang on for 1 more minute. So, we've got this essay contest, 4 schools, Gene, and
Don't take Gene. Gene's on my list.
are you? Gene's. You should be a judge
Yes.
and a sponsor.
Yes.
Molly will talk to you about that.
Yes.
But the deadline for students, because I know all of you are listening to this podcast, but I know some of your parents are, who should be encouraging you to submit an essay, is February 21. And between now and February 21, we still need a ton of judges and sponsors. So, don't forget to go to gertzberglaw.com/essay and sign up to be a judge or a sponsor. And if you sign up to be a sponsor, you have a choice of either making your donation tax deductible or getting a credit with the Gertzberg Law Firm for whatever you donate, up to $375. But you should donate more, because all that money is going to the students and to their schools.
And they're solving texting and driving.
Distracted driving is the problem that these students are going to be solving in this essay contest. So, do that. It's really important. And thank you all for listening, and thank you, Gene.
Thank
This
you,
was an
Gene,
awesome
for your
interview.
time.
This was
Thank you so much for your
fantastic.
time. Thank you,
Really
Molly.
good
Thank you,
stuff.
Alex.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See
Bye,
ya.
Alex Kurtzberg.
Bye, Molly Gabler.